I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. You know, like everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. You know.
Do you not think Spence will be in the Hall of Fame?
Right now? No, how?
Yeah, he's right, dude. He's right.
How? You know, he fought in one division. You know,
he never unified the belts.
He unified.
He did unify.
You know, he unified.
Yeah, he's nice as hell, but I'm at the part of my career. It's money, right? I'll fight anybody. So,
Errol Spence and Terence Crawford just went head-to-head in an Instagram live session, where Errol Spence pushed hard for a rematch, telling the boxing world he would beat Crawford this time around. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence always had a rematch clause in place after their undisputed world welterweight championship fight. But for some reason Spence never activated it, and Crawford eventually moved on. Now, following a recent controversial statement from Crawford, the sleeping giant in Spence has suddenly woken up.
You know, he said the Jose Benavidez fight was probably the toughest fight of his career. And I think you said back in the day you had your way with him in sparring. Is there anything to take away from that, or that you take away from it?
nah, not at all. I mean, it was a good fight. Fought a one-legged Jose Benavidez, and it was a tough fight in his career. That says a lot.
What does it say?
The former world champion has found new motivation in Crawford's remarks, and now believes that beating Crawford would guarantee his place in the Hall of Fame. But there's a flip side to this, where questions about Errol Spence's current condition come into play. He already had personal challenges to overcome and was thoroughly dominated by Crawford in their first fight. And if that was the case, then it might be even worse now, given Spence's long period of inactivity. All of this was sparked when Terence "Bud" Crawford stated that he was not convinced Errol Spence's accomplishments were enough to earn him a spot in the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
I'm walking up on my feet. You know, I want to get out the game. I got kids, got a mom and dad, and they want to enjoy me. So.
Spence, on the other hand, has not stepped into the ring since Crawford stopped him in the 9th round of their highly anticipated super fight at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The match was billed as a 50-50 showdown, but Crawford completely dominated, knocking Spence down 3 times in a career-defining performance. Before that loss, Spence held an undefeated record of 28 wins with 1 defeat. He was the holder of 3 welterweight world titles and had a strong resume with wins over Kell Brook, Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and Yordenis Uvis. Speaking on Pound for Pound with Kamaru and Henry, Crawford looked back on Spence, saying he was a fan of his before their rivalry started, and admitted he still is.
Unified.
He did unify.
You know, he unified.
Was it?
He had 3. Yeah, the
but
WBC,
he didn't unify all 4. He
WBA,
wasn't
IBF.
undisputed.
Huh?
He
No,
wasn't
no,
undisputed.
he wasn't. No, but what I'm saying is, they already called him a weight bully, right? He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. You know, he beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
Just when I moved up in weight and ended up in the same division as Spence, people started saying things like, "Oh man, you ain't fighting nobody, you're this, you're that." Now they're trying to downplay my achievements just to lift him up. And I was like, hey, you're not going to do that, because I could retire right now and still make the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. Everything I've accomplished, he's still chasing. At that point, co-host and former UF champion Kamaru Usman jumped in and asked Crawford if he believed Spence would make the Hall of Fame right now. "No way," Crawford replied. Fellow host and ex-UF champ Henry Cejudo agreed as Crawford explained further. Spence stayed in 1 division. He unified the titles and had 3 belts, but he was never undisputed. Look, he beat Kell Brook after Brook had already taken a loss and suffered an eye injury. He beat Sean Porter, and I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him, but honestly, I just don't know if he makes the Hall of Fame based on what he's done so far.
Yes.
Did you say postal? Was it
Gamboa.
No. Recently, was it?
Crawford, at 41, locked in his future Hall of Fame status on July 29, 2023, when he defeated Spence to become the undisputed welterweight champion. It was the second time Bud had captured all 4 major titles in a division, having previously done it at super lightweight against Julius Indongo back in July 2017. Since winning his first world title at lightweight in 2014 Crawford has dominated across multiple weight classes, and just last August he moved up to super welterweight, where he defeated Israel Madrimov to win the World Boxing Association world title.
For his title, I'm fighting for a title, and there's a possibility. If he win this fight, God willing, I win my fight, God willing, and there's a possibility right there.
But before all that, the World Boxing Organization champion at 35 knocked Spence down 3 times before the referee stepped in and stopped the fight in the 9th round. The win made Crawford the first man in history to become undisputed champion in 2 weight classes, as he took Spence's World Boxing Council, World Boxing Association, Super and International Boxing Federation titles. "I'm an overachiever, nobody believed in me. When I was coming up," Crawford said. Spence, who was 33 at the time, came into the Las Vegas fight undefeated in 28 bouts, and it was his 8th consecutive world title fight.
Is there ever a possibility where you would rematch Errol Spence? Or is he in a position where he needs to win again before that makes sense for you?
The possibility is there.
But Crawford, in his 18th consecutive championship fight, made a powerful case for being the best boxer in the world as he extended his undefeated record to 40 wins at T-Mobile Arena. "It means everything because of who I took the belts from," he said. "They talked bad about me, and I kept praying to God for a chance to show the world how great I am. And tonight I believe I did just that." Spence still has the option to trigger an immediate rematch, and Crawford said he's open to making that second fight happen.
You know what I mean? That's a good win. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him or,
I understand.
things like that, but I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got, right?
"Of course, the public will buy it," Crawford said. "If the fight happens again, I'm pretty sure everyone will come out and show support for us." Spence made his entrance first. Despite being the unified champion, Crawford won the coin toss at the news conference on Thursday, which meant he could decide who would take the champion's spot. Dressed in black and white with red trim, Spence walked second for the first time since stopping Kell Brook to win his first world title back in 2017. The ring walks made it clear that Crawford's fans were out in full force, and T-Mobile Arena erupted when American rap superstar Eminem emerged from the smoke alongside Crawford, dressed in black with a fishnet over his shoulder.
See there.
He looked good. He showed a lot of patience, showed a lot of poise, broke him down, and was able to stop him at the end.
Everybody's wondering what's going on with you and Terence Crawford. This fight gonna happen?
I think it's gonna happen. We both want to fight. I want to fight. He wants to fight, and it's going down to negotiations. So I definitely.
The speed and timing of Crawford caused moments of panic for Spence, who tried to push forward in the 3rd round and take control, but Crawford was too fast for him, constantly landing counters. He got hit with an uppercut in the 4th, then ducked into several hooks from Crawford before taking a massive long left hand that sent blood flying from Spence's nose. Crawford kept breaking Spence down in the 5th, choosing his shots wisely and punishing him with sharp combinations.
The fight this year, and we're going to square off this year with the biggest fight in boxing.
It is the biggest fight in boxing. Where and when, if you were guessing?
I don't know where, I don't know when, but it's definitely going to be this year.
All right, we look forward to that. Thanks for taking the time, Errol.
Spence tried to match Crawford's fire, but his timing was completely off as Crawford started to take control and push forward after dominating much of the fight from the back foot. Crawford was now on the attack. Spence tried to keep him at bay with his jab, but the Omaha native punched right through his defense, landing left hands and mixing in uppercuts at close range. By the midway point, Crawford could confidently say he was at least 5 rounds ahead, including the 10-8 knockdown round.
Welterweight Championship of the world.
He let Spence come at him early in the 7th before countering with a thunderous uppercut, followed by a right hook that sent Spence down for the second time. Spence was quick to rise, but wobbly on his feet. Crawford could feel the end was near and turned up the pressure. Spence tried to bounce off the ropes to escape the attack, but walked right into another right hook that put him down again. The bell rang just in time to save Spence, and at that point a strong case could have been made to stop the fight and pull the battered champion from the contest.
Definitely, it was exciting. The whole build up to it and leading up to it too. So it's something that I wouldn't change for nothing. And I'm definitely open to the rematch, and hopefully it'll be at 154 pounds.
Nevertheless, Spence came out for the 8th round hoping to land that one punch that could change the fight, but Crawford's superiority was undeniable as he boxed beautifully off his jab, effortlessly confusing Spence with his speed and movement. Spence's face was battered and starting to swell badly on the left side. His punches lacked power while Crawford's jab kept snapping back his head. In the 9th round, the punishment finally ended for Spence when Crawford dared him to fight fire with fire, and the brave champion tried. But while Crawford stayed calm, Spence became wild. Another right hook landed to stun him, and as Spence threw a flurry of punches, the referee stepped in to stop the fight.
Errol Spence, the other welterweight champion, who watched that knockdown, put his hand to his face, and said,
Crawford was ecstatic in celebration, dancing with his family after making sure to check on his fellow pound-for-pound great. Crawford had said before the fight that the winner could claim to be the best fighter in the world in any weight class. And after such a dominant performance, it would be hard for anyone to disagree with Bud. Then Crawford did something many found unrealistic by calling out Canelo in action that led to plenty of trolling. Now, at 37, Crawford is expected to return to the ring this September with the possibility of stepping up to super middleweight to challenge Canelo Alvarez, assuming the Mexican fighter defeats William Skull on May 3rd and becomes undisputed champion for the second time. Porter faced Bud in the 36th and final fight of his professional career back in 2021, suffering a 10th round stoppage loss to the then World Boxing Organization world welterweight champion. Shortly after that, Showtime announced his retirement from boxing, having won world titles at 147 pounds on 2 separate occasions after defeating Porter. Crawford went on to become the undisputed welterweight champion with a career-defining victory over Errol Spence, and more recently triumphed in a tough fight against Israel Madrimov to claim the WBA super welterweight title last August. Now, at 37, he's preparing for what could be the toughest challenge of his career when he faces Mexican superstar and unified World Boxing Council, World Boxing Association, and World Boxing Organization super middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez in September.
Junior Terence Crawford, 4 tytuły, kategoria fundamentów Errola Spence'a Juniora w tym pojedynku. I raz jeden. Ataki na razie lepiej wszedły w tę walkę z pęka. Zobaczymy, czy to będzie wyglądało w pierwszym dopiero drugie starcie. Po raz pierwszy w karierze Errol, ale to może być wielki spektakl. Teraz zabija korpus Crawford. Czy tamtego knockdownu bardziej myślę za...
In an interview with Alia Orozco, Porter gave credit to the punching power of his former rival turned friend Bud Crawford, saying the 37-year-old has the ability to end fights at any moment. With Crawford, we've learned not to blink while it might seem boring for a few rounds. Then suddenly it's over. In a separate interview with co-artist Sports, Porter talked about the whip-like effect of Crawford's punches. Even if he doesn't knock you out right away, he'll keep coming and keep hitting you. I kind of described Terence's power as more of a whip, because he throws his punches with speed. It's the idea that speed makes power.
Obviously, you're a guy that always wanted to fight the best people out there. Even if you're on the layup, always want to fight the best guys. We got a guy in Jerron Ennis right now who's killing everybody. Floyd is praising him, Roy Jones, everybody really. Would a part of you, and not looking past Terence, but would a part of you be like, yo, this kid is good, I gotta fight this kid?
So his power is kind of hidden because of his speed, which I think makes it more like a whip. It doesn't take long to get there, it gets there fast. and it pops you Crawford will be closely watching the outcome of Canelo's upcoming fight against IF super middleweight champ Canelo Alvarez, and Terence Crawford are expected to square off in September. The fight is scheduled to take place at 168 pounds, while Crawford's last fight was at 154 pounds. They're two of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the world right now, and this potential showdown could draw huge viewership numbers. Crawford will have to make a big jump in weight for this fight, and many believe it could be a problem for him. 2020 Olympic silver medalist Richard Torresjur has now shared his thoughts on the matter.
Który zaaplikował mu Crawford. Ostatnie sekundy siódmej rundy. Kolejny knockdown. Patrzy na to, co wyprawia w tej walce Terence Crawford. Czyli ależ teraz bomb.
Torresjur is impressed with Crawford's strength and brought up the time they wrestled, backing Bud to get the job done. Speaking with Happy Ann to Shanzel, Torresjur said, "I'm Team Crawford, but I'm also a ride-or-die Canelo fan. But with that being said, I'm leaning a little more toward the USA side. But I'm excited for the fight." Looking back at his wrestling experience with Crawford, Torresjur said it came out a while ago. Crawford beat Richard Torres in wrestling, and I got a couple of views on that. I just want to point out that I didn't know we were wrestling seriously. We were wrestling in his kitchen, and he said, "Let's see what we got." Next thing I know, he got a lock on me, and I was like, "Oh, it's over." Torresjur added that Terence Crawford is super strong, and while they've never sparred, Torresjur believes Bud has amazing defense. He also challenged Crawford to a wrestling rematch.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the fight as a whole?
I think Bud is out for the best. That's something that I know personally about Bud. Feeling counted out and doubted for so long, I think that Bud mentally feels as if I do this against Canelo, no one can ever deny anything that I've done. Even when you the fight with me, I've heard.
Crawford is looking to move up to 168 pounds from 154 pounds for the fight. Meanwhile, Alvarez has to handle business against William Skull first, which he'll do on May 3rd as he aims to become undisputed super middleweight champion. Again, many fans and experts believe Crawford's weight disadvantage could play a role, while others see it differently. Former IF lightweight champion Mickey Bay doesn't think Crawford needs to bulk up too much for the fight. He wants Bud to be in top fighting shape and thinks Crawford could still win a decision, even if he comes in around 165 pounds. Speaking to Mill City Boxing, he said, "In my opinion, I wouldn't come in heavy. I'd come in at 165 and stay at that weight for the fight, 165 or 168.
Excuses for the second words or reasons for the second words, and I think that for Bud, it's like this one you can't deny it. And I agree. Beyond that, there's really no one else for him to fight. He fought himself into, like I like to say, out of this world. He fought himself into being on another stratosphere. That stratosphere that Canelo has been on for years. That stratosphere that not too many people make it to.
Bay added, "Whatever he feels good at sparring multiple times, that's what I'd have him come in at 168, 171. I'd stay within that range. That's the only factor, him not being too slow, 165, and fight at the same weight. He'll probably be 165 or 170. When he fights, he can make 160 very easily, or 154. He can make." Bay continued, "So if he can come in at whatever, like Floyd at 154 with Crawford, when he's in top shape, he's probably going to be in the 60s in camp. So he might as well stay there in top shape. He's probably going to be in the low to mid 160s. So he won't have to do much. I got Crawford by decision." And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality content like this. Until next time, peace.